Hello everybody, I'm going to read you this story. It is called A Day's Work by Eve Bunty, illustrated by Ronald Himmler. Let's begin the story. Francisco stood in the parking lot with his grandfather and the other man. It was the first time he'd been there. A truck cruised along slowed. The driver held up 3 fingers. "Brake lane, I need 3 men," he called. 5 men jumped in the back. "Only 3, the driver said, and the 2 had to get out. So, only 3 men he needed just to go bricklaying. But 5 of them came in the back of his truck, but 3 went with him and 2 left. So there's a little boy with his grandfather right here. His grandfather wearing the gray sweater. The workers left in the parking lot, grumbled and shuffled around. Francisco's grandfather shivered. "Hace frío," he said. "It is cold because it is still early. It will be hot later. You will see," Francisco said in Spanish. "Why did you bring a kid?" one of the men asked. "No one will hire you with a kid. He belongs in school." "It is Saturday," Francisco said. My grandfather, does not speak English yet. He came to California only 2 days ago to live with my mother and me." So his grandfather is living with this little boy and his mother. Let's see. Francisco swallowed. "We have been alone since my father died. I am going to help my abuelo get work." He took his grandfather's cold, rough hand and smiled up at him. Abuelo was tall and skinny as an old tree. Already, Francisco loved him. When there was money to spare, they get him a jacket like Francisco, with sleeves long enough to cover his hands, and an LA Lakers cap like Francisco's too. Aww, so the little boy loves his grandfather. That's so sweet and cute. And he loves him because he's living with his mother and him, because Francisco's father died. So, a van was coming. Benjamin's gardening was printed on the side. Francisco let go of his grandfather's hand. He darted through the swarm of men and was right in front of the van when it stopped. "1 man," the driver said, "for gardening." He was young, with a thick black mustache, and he was wearing an LA Lakers cap like Francisco's. Maybe cleaner. It must be an old man, Francisco thought. "Take us, Mr. Benjamin. Us," Francisco pointed back at his grandfather. He tilted his own cap over his eyes. "Look, we love the Lakers too, and my grandfather is a fine gardener, though he doesn't know English yet. The gardens are the same, right? Mexican and American?" Francisco waved urgently for his grandfather to come. "Also, you will get 2 for 1, he said. "I don't charge for my work." Aww, he wants to work with his grandfather, and he's also helping his grandfather get a job as a gardener. That's a nice little grandson, Francisco. The man grinned. "Okay, I'm convinced, but I'm not Mr. Benjamin. Call me Ben." He motioned to Francisco. You and your grandfather jumped in back $60 for the days. Francisco nodded. His breath was fast. That much for a day's work? Mama would be so happy. Her job didn't pay much. There'd be extra food tonight. Maybe chorizo. He pulled open the back door, threw in the bag of lunch Mama had packed, and hurried his grandfather into the van ahead of him. A big, tough guy tried to get in too. Francisco pushed him back. He was tough. He was a worker. Aww. And there's Francisco protecting his grandfather. And he wants to work with him. But this man, I don't know what he's doing, but what he's doing with Francisco and his grandfather is hardly wrong, pushing them. So let's see. It is gardening, he told Abuelo as the man pulled away. But I do not know gardening. I am a carpenter. I have always lived in the city. It is easy, Francisco waved through the window at the passing cars. Flowers, roses, things like that. He raised his cap to a lady in a car. Senora, he said politely, though she couldn't hear. The van turned off the freeway onto a winding road and stopped. A sloping bank led up to the backyards of new houses. Some were not yet finished. Workers climbed high on rooftops, and there was a good smell of tar. The high bank was dotted with pretty white flowers and overgrown with coarse green spikes. 6 big black trash cans waited below. They all got out of the van, but Ben left the motor running. So now they're ready to go to work. And there's little Francisco and his grandfather. They're ready to go gardening. So let's see how this will go. I need you to weed this bank, he told Abuelo. Be sure to get the roots, he pointed to the cans. Dump them here. Good, fine, it was Francisco who answered. I have another job to go to, Ben said. I'll pick you up at 3. It will be hot. Your grandfather will need a hat. He took a straw one from the van. Gracias, Abuelo said. See you guys then. Work hard. Have a nice day. So now they're going to start the garden. And look, it looks so beautiful, doesn't it? So let's see. What did he say? Abuelo asked as the van drove off. He said to have a nice day. It is what everyone says up here. Your English is very good, my grandson, Abuelo said. Francisco nodded and smiled. He climbed the bank and hung his jacket on a railing. Now, he said, I will show you. He pulled up one of the spiky clumps and shook the dirt from its roots. These are weeds. Do not touch the flowers. His grandfather smiled. Bueno, Francisco could see his strong white teeth all the way to the back. Now that's cool what they're doing together, boys and girls. Now they already took out the weeds off from the roots of the plants. And they're both working together and having a nice sunny good day. But remember, when it's hot, you need water and you need your hat. And you need shade too. They worked through the morning. A little poodle barked at them through the railings above. Yup, yup, yup! An orange cat prowled the bank. There was a pool in one of the new backyards. Francisco heard splashing and voices. The water sounds made him hotter. His shoulders and arms hurt. He thought about how proud Mama would be tonight. $60, she says, and she hugged Francisco and Abuelo. It is a fortune. So now, look, they're still working in the garden all morning and all day. Morning through the entire day. And Francisco hears splashing from a pool of a backyard of a house. And his shoulders are hurting and he's getting tired because it's getting too hot. But he does not want to stop helping his grandpa. At lunchtime, he and Abuelo ate the tortillas and tomatoes and drank the bottle of water she had packed. In another hour, they were finished. The bank looked so nice with just the brown dirt and the pretty flowers. Muy bonito, Abuelo said, and Francisco said, yes, beautiful. He and his grandfather shook hands. Francisco thought he had never felt so good. He helped his grandfather and he had worked himself. They sat on the curb to wait for the van, and when it came, they stood and brushed the loose dirt from their clothes. So, when you work so hard, boys and girls, sometimes you get dirt all over yourself when you're gardening. But remember, you gotta clean up yourself too. Clean off your clothes, off your shoes. That way, you won't get your car dirty or your house dirty too. But look at Francisco and his grandfather. They both are sitting down right there. They both had a good day at work. So listen. Ben got out and stared up at the bank. Holy Toledo, he said. You didn't think we could do such a good job. Francisco wanted to laugh. Ha ha ha. Ben seemed so shocked. Francisco gave a little jump and pretended to slam dunk a ball. Like the Lakers, we work hard. I can't believe it. I can't believe it, Ben whispered. You took out all the plants and left the weeds. Francisco stepped closer to Abuelo. But the flowers, he began. Ben pointed. Those flowers were chickweed. Chickweed? You took out my young ice plants. He yanked off his Lakers cap and slammed it against the van. Uh-oh, son. You don't think he looks pretty upset? Ben looks pretty upset because those are chickweeds. And Francisco and his grandfather, they were shocked. But he wasn't shocked because he knows that Ben was very shocked. And he's upset because they took off his chickweeds. It's a plant. Chickweeds. Sounds pretty funny too. What is it? Did we do something wrong? Abuelo whispered in Spanish to Francisco. Ben's mustache quivered with anger. I thought you said your grandfather was a fine gardener. He doesn't even know a chickweed? Abuelo looked from one of them to the other. Tell me what is happening, Francisco, he said. We left the weeds. We took out the plants, Francisco said softly in Spanish. It was hard to look at his grandfather as he spoke. I guess that didn't work for the grandfather. He thought we knew about gardening, Abuelo said. His Spanish was fast and angry. He thought we knew about gardening, Abuelo said. His Spanish was fast and angry. You lied to him. Isn't that so? We needed a day's work. We do not lie for work. Uh-oh, so now sounds pretty upset and angry with Abuelito and Francisco. But they didn't know this were chickweeds. I guess Ben forgot to tell them. Now there was more sadness than anger in Abuelo's voice. Ah, my grandson. He put a hand on Francisco's shoulder. Ask him what we can do. Tell him we will come back tomorrow, and if he agrees, we will pull out the weeds and put the good plants back. Francisco felt his heart go weak, but Abuelo, that will be twice the work, and tomorrow is Sunday. There's a Laker game on TV, and there is also church. He hoped the word church would be perhaps change his grandfather's thinking. We won't miss them both, then, his grandfather said. It is the price of the lie. Tell the gentleman what I said and ask him if the plants will live. Ben said they would. The roots are still there. If they're replanted early, they'll be all right. He rubbed his eyes. This is partly my fault. I should have stayed to get you started, but tell your grandfather I appreciate his offer, and I'll bring you back in the morning. The three of them got in the van. I guess Francisco really wanted that watch the Laker game and go to church, but I guess those plans are over, so he's gonna come and with his grandfather and put the plants back where they go. The good plants. Perfect. Francisco sat by the window in the huddled silence. He didn't wave to passing cars. He didn't raise his cap. He helped his grandfather find work. But in the end, the lie had spoiled the day. His throat burned with tears. The parking lot was empty. The trash can be overflowed with used paper cups and sandwich wrappings. Ben let them out. Uh-oh, I guess the day's not going good for them. But let's see how it will go. Look, he said. If you need money, I'll give you half now. He began to pull his wallet from his pocket, but Abuelo held up his hand. Tell him we take the pay tomorrow when we finish. Francisco's grandfather and Ben looked at each other, and words seemed to pass between them, though there were no words. Ben slid his wallet back into his pocket. Francisco sighed. The lie had taken the chorizos too. Tomorrow then, 6 a.m., Ben said, and tell your grandfather I can always use a good man for more than just one day's work. Francisco gave a hop of excitement. More than just a day's work. Ben was still speaking. The important things your grandfather knows already, and I can teach him gardening. So he's going to help Francisco and his grandfather with a gardening problem. That's good for Ben what he's doing to help out. Francisco nodded. He understood. He would tell his grandfather, and he would tell him something else. Francisco, had begun to learn the important things too. Francisco took his grandfather's cold, rough hand in his. Let's go home, abuelo, he said. Now they're going home after a good day of work. That's it of a story of a day's work by E. Bunting. Well, what can I say, boys and girls, and everybody else, is that sometimes we all need a job, right? We all need to work together as a team. Just like the Lakers work together trying to win those NBA trophies, and they do. Or just like the Dodgers are trying to make it to the World Series, and sometimes they lose, but they don't give up. They got the next time, the next time, the next time. So that's what Francisco, and that's what this book is all about, is to help each other out, not to like give up and quit and just leave the job right there by itself. It's better to help out. So let me bring out my friend Tigger. Hello, boys and girls. Let me go get my other friend. And Carmen. Come on, Carmen. Don't be lazy, Carmen. So now, Carmen, let's be lazy. Yes, I do. So, one question. Why did Francisco help his grandfather get a job? So he could work because his grandfather came from Mexico. So his grandfather is now living with his grandson and the mother of of her son in California. So another question is that was the grandfather, does he know how to speak English or Spanish? He does not speak English, he speaks Spanish. But the little boy had helped him with his problems, so he translates for his grandfather to Ben, the gardening boss. Yes, Ben talks English and Spanish. So what was the most important part of the story? That Ben wanted to help his grandfather get a job to work as a gardener. Did he? Yes, he did. Ben gave the job to Francisco and his grandfather. Yes, that is true. So, another question. What were they working as? Gardeners! Yeah, they were working in Ben's garden. They were pulling out the weeds from the chickweeds. Yes, and then when Ben got back, well, he was really upset. With who? With Francisco and his grandfather. But the little boy and the old man, they were working all day pulling out roots from the weeds. Pulling out the weeds from the roots of the plants all day in the morning and day too. Yes, and the little boy was getting very tired and the old man too. So, they made a mistake, huh? By pulling out the roots. Yes, they did. But they made a promise to their boss that they will put the good plants back in the garden, back in the dirt, so they could grow beautiful. Yes, so they could regrow beautiful. And then they got paid. Yes, Ben paid them. So, it must be a hard day at work, right? For Francisco and his grandfather? Yes, it was a hard day at work. Sí, muy fuerte trabajo. Sí, muy bueno es el trabajo que hizo Francisco y su abuelo. So, otra pregunta, another question is, at the end of the story, en el último de la historia, ¿qué pasó? Ben was walking, Francisco and his grandfather, they were waiting for Ben to come pick them up. Ellos estaban esperando que recogerlos a ellos. Yeah, not bad, Carmen, not bad. But they were tired, Francisco and and their grandfather. That is true. It was a hard, hot day at work. But they when they picked them up, he took them in his van and he dropped them off back where he got them, and they went walking back home. The end. Oh yeah, and they love the Lakers too. That's true. So what advice can you give to the kids? Carmen and Tigger, what advice we give to them? Is that it's better to help out your grandparents, boys and girls. Yes, you can help them out at home. Clean and wash dishes, clean up the yard, and you can help them pick some fruits. Now help them bring down the groceries for them. And always be there for them because they're always there for you. That is true, boys and girls. Your grandparents love you so much is because they want what's best for you. That is true, everybody. That is so true. Yes, because it is love and helpful and kindness. You got that right, Chica. Alright, everybody, we gotta go. Good night, y'all. And we love you all. So what can I say? Is that we all need to help each other. And from what we learned from the story is that it's better to help our grandparents from where they come from. If they need help to translate, we could translate for them. Translate means we could let's say my grandma speaks Spanish. I mean that too, they speak Spanish. And then my friend or my neighbors, they speak English. Who's to help them understand the other language? Me. I could help them. I could translate means saying hi in Spanish then. So hola. Hola means hi. Good morning. Buenos dias. So good morning in Spanish it means buenos dias. Buenos dias means good morning. Good afternoon in Spanish is buenas tardes. And how we say good night in Spanish it is buenas noches. It means good night. So that's what translating means, boys and girls. Okay, that's the way I showed you. That's how it means. Say hi, hola, good morning, buenos dias, good afternoon, buenas tardes, good night, buenas noches. That's what it means. And someone needs help speaking every language, we should help them. And understand the language, the culture, and understand of a new friendship between family and friends who need help getting a job and also helping our family. Alright, everybody, I gotta go. Good night to you all, and later I'll do another story time, okay? Bye-bye.